So this is the first of 2 workshops that we organized to foster a community of practice around digital scholarship at York University and beyond. These workshops are fittingly taking place during York's Open Access Week. Our second workshop on Scalar with York U PhD candidate Denise Challenger is this Friday, October 29th, same time, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Some of you may be registered for that as well. I'm not sure if there are any, there may be some spots left. So if you'd like, you could check and see if you can register for that as well. The workshops have been designed to build on each other, or they can stand alone as well. So you will receive benefits from attending both or just one. Those who attend our next workshop will have the opportunity to embed the story map or timeline that we make in this workshop into the Scalar that we'll be looking at the next workshop. So today we're focusing on Night Lab's most popular tools, StoryMapJS and TimelineJS. So to start, we will do some introductions. I will turn it first to Ming. Ming, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, hi everyone. So glad to see everyone here. I'm Ming. I'm a PhD student in political science at York University. And I will be bringing through folks on the timeline exercise and so on. And so glad to see everyone here again.
All right, thank you, Ming. Andrea and our librarians, please introduce yourselves as well.
Sure. Sorry, I think my computer froze for a second. I'm a second-year master's student. My name's Andrea. I've been working with CSiW since March 2020, and one of the first things I did was develop the funding application for this event. So it's really exciting that we're here and that this is happening. Throughout the workshop, I'll also be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions or concerns or want something clarified, you can type it in the chat and I'll let whoever's presenting know.
Thank you, Andrea. And would Chris Joseph and Anna Saint-Anger like to introduce themselves as well? We would not be here without our librarians, let me just say.
I'll just go really briefly. My name is Chris Joseph. I'm a digital scholarship librarian at York University. I'm going to put a link in the chat for the Digital Scholarship Center, which is sort of a hub for researchers, faculty members, graduate students who are doing work that has a sort of a digital component, whether it's this sort of a thing, which is a digital exhibit or an online version of your work, to using digital tools for your research. So in addition to helping facilitate and promote workshops like this for the community, we're also eager to talk to people about their work and how the library can help them. So feel free to get in touch. And I will be very quiet and mostly pushing buttons for this workshop. And I'll pass it over to Anna.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Saint-Anger. I'm the Director of Digital Scholarship Infrastructure at the Libraries. I'm going to be off screen most of the time, in part because I'm in rural Northern Ontario right now. And even as I look at myself, I'm like moving very slowly. So yes, I am also pushing buttons from a distance offline, not offline, but off screen. So thanks everyone for showing up. It's great to see some new faces and also some familiar names. So without further ado, Sarah, take it away.
Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to move to the introduction of the Pressbook that Andrea has been in charge of. So Andrea, you can go ahead and move to introducing the Pressbook. As well, Andrea will be reading the land acknowledgement that we've developed for this workshop.
Thank you, Sarah. So to complement the workshop, we created a digital guidebook through Pressbook, and it'll help you it'll help guide you through the process of creating a TimelineJS or a StoryMapJS. In our introduction to the Pressbook, we have given background information on the Conjugal Slavery and War project, as well as the Adodowa Community Dialogue Scalar project, which is where our timeline and story map are embedded. We have also provided information about funding, our collaboration with the Digital Scholarship Center and other partners. In the Pressbook, you will also find detailed instructions on building TimelineJS and StoryMapJS in case you need to go over them after the workshop. And you will also find data for the exercise, which we've created for the workshop, in which you'll create your own story map or a timeline, depending on what you want to do. And the best part is that this Pressbook will remain available to you after the workshop. And if you have signed up for the Scalar workshop, this is also where you will find additional support for Scalar later on this week. I'll move on now to read the land acknowledgement, which is also available in the Pressbook. So as a project partnership affiliated with your university, the Conjugal Slavery and War Scalar team, which is made up of diverse Canadian and international scholars, recognizes that Indigenous peoples have long-standing relationship with the territories upon which York University campuses are located, and that these relationships precede the establishment of York University. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Takaronto has been taken care of by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It is now home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis community. We also acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject of the Dish with One Spoon, Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. It is important to acknowledge the ancestral unceded land of the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat as the land on which we are currently living, learning, working, and organizing today. The work at CSiW focuses on transitional justice and reparations to the survivors of conjugal slavery and captivity and their children. As researchers committed to the promotion and the fight for human rights, we would like to take this opportunity to commit ourselves to the ongoing fight for survivor-centered reparations for Indigenous peoples, and we denounce the systems of oppression that have dispossessed Indigenous peoples from their lands and denied their rights to self-determination. Additionally, we would like to emphasize the importance of doing a land acknowledgement and its significance as a form of reparation we can all partake in. As in CSiW, we have worked with displaced survivors. We have grown to understand the impacts and the significance of a land to a people and communities. Through this project, we have learned and worked collaboratively with survivors to employ a survivor-centered approach, bring about conversations of justice and reparations, and develop community dialogues about survivors' needs and their definitions of justice and reparations. The focus on reparations pertaining to Indigenous peoples in Canada, a name that originates from the Mohawk word kanata, is ever more important in the beginning of this new decade. In 2015, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, or the TRC, published its 94 calls to action. As of July 2021, 14 calls to action have been completed, with 10 of those actions pertaining to reconciliation and 2 to justice. However, we acknowledge that there is still much work to be done, noting the remaining 80 calls to action, with 41 of those relating to reconciliation measures and 15 relating to approaches to justice. On the topic of knowledge production and education, both the UNDRIP, the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which was adopted as a law in Canada on June 21, 2021, and the TRC calls to action are relevant. For example, TRC call 62.2 calls on federal, provincial, and municipal governments, as well as Canadian institutions, to provide the necessary funding to post-secondary institutions to educate teachers on how to integrate Indigenous knowledge and teaching methods in classrooms. And in UNDRIP Article 15, paragraph 1 states that Indigenous peoples have the right to the dignity and diversity of their cultures, traditions, histories, and aspirations, which shall be appropriately reflected in education and public information. With these calls to action, statements and responsibilities in mind, and the need to work together to address the devastating effects of colonialism, forced removal, and genocide. We encourage workshop participants to engage in acts of reconciliation and to agitate and hold Canadian governments and institutions accountable for their responsibilities to Indigenous people. We encourage you to have a survivor-centered approach to dialogues and conversations, to divest from settler colonial ways of relating, and to follow the leadership of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit in defining next steps in reconciliation and reparations. Thank you. I will also be posting links to the chat to the land acknowledgement in case you want to learn more about CSiW's commitment to human rights, justice, and reparations.
Thank you so much, Andrea. So the CSiW Scalar team has pre-recorded 3 videos for this workshop, which will be screened along with synchronous chats, Q&As, and an exercise and discussions. There are 2 breaks scheduled as well. So during the video screening, we encourage you to make use of the chat feature on Zoom to ask questions and make comments. We will draw from the chat during the Q&A and our discussion. If you would prefer to maintain your privacy, feel free to direct message Andrea your question, and she'll anonymize your question for group discussion. If you're having technical difficulties, you can also ask for support by direct messaging Chris Joseph, or I don't want to volunteer Anna, but you can certainly reach out to one of the librarians for the support around technical issues. So let's get to know each other by using the chat feature now. So to start, if you could share your name and research interest in the, thank you, Anna, in the chat, and if you'd like, you can also include 1 word that describes your perspective of digital humanities. So for example, you can say exciting or confusing or whatever you'd like. You can say whatever you'd like. So please use the chat to introduce yourself. And if you'd like, you could use 1 word to describe your opinion or feelings of digital humanities. Yes, dynamic, very good. Thank you, Jolyn. Visual is a very excellent, very important, especially related to our work. We found the visual aspect of digital humanities to be very important for our work. Fun, yes, absolutely. Overwhelming, yes. I would agree on this. As the project lead, I would agree that it can be overwhelming. Yes. This is all really excellent. So we have some folks who are new to digital humanities. Challenging, yes. Yes, reaching broader audiences. That is absolutely a area of focus for us as well. Unsurprisingly, that we have overlaps with Bruno's interests. Yes, intrigued. This is great. Thank you so much, everybody. Wow, yes. We have such a great group of folks here with really interesting research interests and a level of, oh yes, here's Professor Bunting. Thank you, Annie. Yeah, this is great. Thank you all so much. All right. So if folks want to continue adding information in or ask questions and things as I'm talking, go ahead. I'm just going to offer a couple of reminders. So before screening our first video, just a reminder about the Night Labs authoring tool, which is through Google. I did send participants a registrants message on last week, alerting you to the use of Google's authoring tool that we'll be drawing from for this workshops. But we're mindful of the privacy and security issues that come with using Google. So please direct message one of us if you need support around using Google's authoring tool, or if you need support because that's not an option for you. So we will now turn to the video that we've made that's a background information video about the project. This video is about 4 minutes long. It contextualizes our use of Night Labs tools for the Ododowa Community Dialogue Scalar project. This video is followed by a Q&A, and then we'll have a 5-minute break. Chris, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start screening this video.
In this video, we provide background information about the Ododowa Community Dialogues Scalar project and our use of Northwestern University's Night Labs tools StoryMapJS and TimelineJS. The Ododowa Community Dialogues Scalar project is a digital space that features original content and tracks perspectives on and responses to a traveling exhibit about girls in war. Ododowa Stories of Girls in War launched at the Canadian Museum for Human Rights in October 2019. A traveling version of the exhibit launched in Uganda in December 2019. The exhibit centers the stories of 2 Ugandan women, Grace Achan and Evelyn Amone. Achan and Amone are authors, researchers, and activists who advocate for justice and reparations for women and girls who have experienced abduction and forced marriage in war. The exhibit supports Achan's and Amone's advocacy work and aims to develop an international audience to generate supportive spaces for conversation about forced marriage in war and the needs of survivors and their children. The exhibit's development grows through years-long collaborative process among Véronique Bourget and Dr. Annie Bunting of the Conjugal Slavery in War Partnership, or CSiW, curator Isabelle Masson of the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, and Grace Achan and Evelyn Amone. The traveling exhibit launched and toured Uganda in December 2019. The exhibit's launch in Canada and in Uganda included events such as panel presentations, Q&As, and facilitated community dialogues that generated digital content, including audio recordings, photos, and videos. The Ododowa Community Dialogue Scalar project is funded by a Social Science and Humanities Research Council Connection Grant. It began in September 2019 when York University PhD candidate Sarah York Bertram received a graduate assistant placement with CSiW to develop a Scalar project that acts as a digital companion to the traveling exhibit. The CSiW Scalar team grew in the spring of 2020 with the addition of York U master student Andrea Gonzalez and PhD student Zming Sim. The project has been supported by York University Libraries' Digital Scholarship Center. Open source tools by Northwestern University's Night Lab are featured in the Scalar projects as third-party applications. They can also stand alone and function as companion pieces to presentations and a range of digital projects. You may have seen them featured in online news sites such as Time, CNN, and Le Monde. The tools can help users to create narratives with digital materials and to visualize data in an interactive way. The structure of the tools help users to generate and curate digital material and reduce barriers between researchers and community partners. For example, while the Scalar project was in development, the StoryMapJS tracking the exhibit's journey helped the team to demonstrate our work to partners and collaborators. In this workshop, we will focus on developing StoryMapJS and TimelineJS as standalone projects. For those attending the October 29th Scalar workshop with Sarah York Bertram and PhD candidate Denise Challenger, there will be an opportunity to input the story map and timeline from this workshop into your own Scalar project.
Thank you, Chris, for screening that video for us. So we'd like to open things up now. If you would like, you can either use the chat feature or you can use the audio feature on Zoom. But we're opening up for a few minutes for questions and answers about the project. Are there any questions? All right, someone's asking for more info on the session on the 29th. So perhaps maybe I can start by offering one question to you all to think about, and that is what the utility of the story map or timeline or other Night Lab tools would be for your own projects or your own research interests. And if anybody would like to reflect on that or share their thoughts, please go ahead. We also have opportunity for other questions if you have any. Yes, Chris.
I can throw out a question maybe to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Folks who are familiar with digital humanities work know that there are often many tools you can use for these kinds of things. Can you maybe just tell me a little bit about why you like these ones?
Yeah. So that's absolutely true. So there's a lot of tools that exist. And what we ended up doing actually was I was in the Digital Scholarship Center with Anna and Chris, and perhaps also Veronique. And we were looking at Scalar projects together and noticed that someone had used StoryMapJS in their Scalar for as a third-party application. Scalar itself does have features that enable making maps and that sort of thing, and there's also, I think, ArcGIS has a story map as well. We went with this one because it's free and it's very user-friendly. Once we got a feel for Night Lab's tools, it was intuitive for us to also try using the TimelineJS as well, which Ming took on as a project. And that's probably, as much as I would say about it at the moment, but I have mostly used the Google authoring tool. I know there's other options as well with StoryMapJS, but we found it to be really user-friendly. And I believe it largely draws from like a slide deck kind of process. So it's a very, if you have experience with slide deck, it's an intuitive tool to use as well. All right, so if there aren't any other questions at the moment, we're going to take a short break. So feel free to go get yourself a glass of water. We're going to move into the actual instructions on using TimelineJS and StoryMapJS after the break. Ming will get us started with TimelineJS. So we'll see you in 5 minutes.
ببین این یکی بس شده ده.
Just to start the video thing,
Um,
or is there an introduction?
Yeah, so there is. So I think we will be screening the video on TimelineJS now. This video includes the background information contextualizing the use of TimelineJS for our Adobe community dialogue Scalar project, and some instruction and guides that may be useful for you in your own projects. A live demonstration will be made during the exercise segment. So even though you may not be able to follow it during the video, you will be able to ask questions and get a chance to have a live demo later on. Yeah. And Chris, thank you for screening the video. Timeline is an important digital humanities tool that helps to visualize relationalities between stories, events, and involving actors. Our use of TimelineJS in presenting Evelyn Amoni and Grace Achan stories aim to trace the milestones of advocacy by Evelyn and Grace, survivors, as well as affected communities of conjugal slavery in conflict. With TimelineJS as a means of presentation, we entrench Evelyn and Grace's stories into the global community and judiciary efforts towards addressing the needs of conjugal slavery survivors. So where do we start? Do a quick Google search of TimelineJS and it will take you to this page of the Night Labs platform. On the page, you will see a few tips and tricks that's already provided by the platform. It includes in keeping the content short with not more than 20 slides, to include and position the stories in chronological order, and finally to position major events within your timeline. Our workshop seeks to add on to these tips and guidelines already provided to suit the needs and usage of our project working with conflict survivors. First, we practice sensitivity surrounding the use of pictures to not include photographs depicting violent or gruesome images of conflict, images including minors or children, as well as other conflict survivors and perpetrators. We work closely with Grace and Evelyn where they will look through the pictures that will be included in the timeline, as well as all other areas of the Scalar platform. Secondly, because our Scalar platform serves to document communities and international efforts supporting survivors, we keep in mind the need to be as detailed as possible without misrepresenting their stories or the events told. Therefore, our content take into account that the timeline sheet does not have to follow the limits of 20 slides. Importantly, we establish a non-linear visualization of advocacy work, despite the linear presentation of the TimelineJS application. While events presented in the timeline are chronological, we center community-led advocacy milestones within the global judiciary and community engagements, so as to deliver the work of Evelyn and Grace's role and contributions to the broader international support for survivors of conjugal slavery. The next step is to set up your Excel sheet. Before you start to add in your content, you have to go back to the Nightlabs or TimelineJS platform for an Excel sheet template that is provided by the application. This Excel sheet is useful for users without any coding or programming knowledge. Once you're on the main page of the TimelineJS page, scroll down and you'll be able to find the Google spreadsheet on the platform. Click on the tab, Get the Spreadsheet Template. You will need a Google email account to gain access to the formatted Excel sheet. Alternatively, you can create a new Google email account just for your project. This will be helpful for organization and for any privacy concerns surrounding linking your Google account with the TimelineJS Excel spreadsheet. After signing in, you will have access to the timeline template. Make sure to favorite the document so that it will not be lost within your Google Drive. As mentioned, you are able to use the Nightlabs platform without having a Google account. It can, however, be difficult for folks with no programming knowledge to use the platform. So it can come in handy to use the Excel sheet provided by TimelineJS. However, considering the privacy issues that may arise from attaching your Google account to TimelineJS, it is recommended that you open a new Google account for your timeline project. To avoid copyright infringements on the use of images, our project uses common licensing websites like Wikimedia Commons and Unsplash to search for pictures. Images on this site hold a Creative Commons license, which allow you to use their images on your project. However, images surrounding Creative Commons licensing will be more complicated for commercial projects as compared to non-commercial projects. After deciding on the suitable images, return to the Excel sheet and place the link of the media you want in the media section of the Excel sheet. Remember to place your media credit on the next section. Citing your media source is important to credit the creator of the image used. TimelineJS also allows you to custom your color scheme. In order to do so, you will need to know the exact color palette code for the preferred colors you want for your slides. Here, we use the Canva color palette generator to locate our color codes. Our main color team follows the Conjugal Slavery War Partnership colors. Chris. Right, Chris, are you there?
I think there might be something.
I think
It's freezing. Yeah. Nope. Okay, chances are what's happening is that Chris is just going to reconnect.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'm wondering, does anyone in the audience have questions up to this point of the recording? Here comes Chris.
I was interested in the royalty-free image software you were using. Was it called Unsplash, was it? Did I get that right?
Sorry, I think it's the video is playing in the background as you're speaking.
Oh, it's all good.
Chris is just setting up in just a moment. Yes, Patrick, what I can do is I can share some of the resources that we prepared at the library for sources of materials that are free of, like, so public domain material where the creators have released any claim to copyright. So you can reuse, remix as needed, and Upsplash is one of those sources. But Ming, I'm wondering if you had, like, your experience using those sources, how was that?
Sorry, I just missed out on Patrick's question because my internet is not great today too. Patrick, if you could repeat your question again.
Oh, I was curious about your experience using the website you mentioned. I believe it was Upsplash or Unsplash. What?
Right.
Yeah.
So the websites are good, but because it is so as creative licensing they aren't always clear on where you can use it and how you can use it. But then definitely if your project is non-commercial or if it's not going to be and including any transactions, you're able to use the pictures. And then definitely if you're doing perhaps more informative content, Wikimedia is I would say it's a better source as compared to Unsplash, because you'll be able to get more kind of informative pictures from it as compared to Unsplash, which give you more kind of, the professional photography style photos. But if you need it, Unsplash is a great place to go.
Thanks for that.
Okay, I think we're ready to resume the video. Thank you, Chris.
Sorry about that. I've never been in the office where the power has gone out before. It went off for like 3 seconds and I was like, oh no. It's like just my luck today. So I apologize. I may back up the video by a moment or two. We were right about the point where we were talking about using images. So that may be slightly a repeat, but I will basically pick it up from more or less where we left off. And thank you for your patience and sorry for the problem with the power.
Copyright infringements on the use of images. Our project uses common licensing websites like Wikimedia Commons and Unsplash to search for pictures. Images on this site hold a Creative Commons license, which allow you to use their images on your project. However, images surrounding Creative Commons licensing will be more complicated for commercial projects as compared to non-commercial projects. After deciding on the suitable images, return to the Excel sheet and place the link of the media you want in the media section of the Excel sheet. Remember to place your media credit on the next section, citing your media non-commercial projects. Source is important to credit the creator of the image used. TimelineJS also allows you to custom your color scheme. In order to do so, you will need to know the exact color palette code for the preferred colors you want for your slides. Here, we use the Canva color palette generator to locate our color codes. Our main color team follows the Conjugal Slavery War Partnership color scheme because we are not in touch with the original designer of the banner. We get our color scheme from uploading this picture into the Canva color palette generator. After you upload your image, you should be able to see the color palette codes on the generator page. Place the codes into the background section of the Excel sheet. With your Excel sheet filled, you are ready to publish and share your work. First, go to the File tab on the top left-hand corner of your Google Excel sheet. Scroll through the drop-down list and you will find the tab Publish to Web. You have to click this tab in order for Timeline to read what you have added into your Excel sheet. After you publish, head back to the TimelineJS page, click on Make a Timeline as shown in this slide. It will then bring you to this third section of the page. Copy your Excel sheet URL and insert into the box. You will be able to preview and copy the link for embedding the timeline into your project or websites. After you click Preview, you should be able to see your work come up on another window or tab. Here are some snapshots of our timeline. From here, I will pass on to Sarah, where she will talk more about the StoryMaps application on Night Labs.
Thank you so much, Ming. So now we'll screen the video about StoryMapJS, and after the video, we'll take a short 4-minute break and then turn to the exercise when you will have an opportunity to make your own TimelineJS or your own StoryMapJS, or perhaps both, depending how much time we have today. Chris, you can go ahead and start the screening for the StoryMapJS video. Thank you, Ming, for your presentation on Night Lab TimelineJS. We now turn to StoryMapJS. StoryMapJS is a free tool to support online storytelling that highlights locations and a series of events. It enables you to develop slides for each location in your story. There are similar requirements for StoryMap as there are for Timeline. StoryMapJS has its own authoring tool through Google, which is what I used for the development of the Ojojowa Community Dialogues project. It's possible to use StoryMap without a Google account, but editing is a different process. If you prefer not to use a Google account, Night Lab has information about how to do so in their StoryMap for technical users page. We have a link included in the Pressbook for this workshop. However, in this workshop, we'll use the authoring tool through Google. StoryMapJS also uses JSON data. Complete details on the JSON syntax for StoryMapJS are also available in the Pressbook and on the StoryMap website. From the outset, I suggested a map to track the tour of the Ojojowa traveling exhibit. After reviewing a range of Scalar projects, as well as the third-party applications suggested by the Alliance for Networking Visual Culture, I decided on the StoryMapJS. StoryMapJS supports the development of relationships between images and locations. The platform can use media on Twitter, Flickr, YouTube, Vimeo, Google Maps, Wikimedia, and Wikipedia, and more. We developed collaborative content for our StoryMap. CSiW project coordinator Véronique Bourget, Aaron Cohen of the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, and CSiW project partners such as Diana Ajok of Refugee Law Project documented events associated with the Ojojowa exhibits, developing a range of digital media for us to draw from for the project. We reviewed photographs, audio recordings, and other media and experimented with them to learn which related best with the tool. After our experimenting, we decided to focus on location to give a sense of place for each spot the exhibit toured. In some cases, such as the Uganda National Museum, the original media we had access to focused on the interior of the building and pictures of people interacting with the exhibit. In those cases, we sought open media files on Wikimedia Commons to get a sense of the exterior of the building. It is recommended that designers use 20 slides for their StoryMap project, that users base their StoryMap on stories that have strong location narratives, and that each event is part of a larger narrative. This can be an excellent way to document something ongoing, like the Ojojowa traveling exhibit, but it can also be a new and interesting way of visualizing histories. Also, there is potential to develop videos of your StoryMap through screen recording. Together with our selected media content and location information, we drew from textual sources to develop place-based captions for each location. For example, we reviewed Gilbert Nuagera's active history post titled Resuscitating Histories, Some Reflections on the Ododowa Exhibit and Experience on the Ododowa launch in Uganda. And with his permission, we integrated his statements regarding the National Memory and Peace Documentation Center's methods and broader goals on the Kitgum slide that discusses the Ododowa exhibit's event in Kitgum. We also drew from collaborative original content we developed with Grace Achan and Evelyn Amone, such as what is featured on the slide discussing the Gulu event, where Grace and Evelyn presented the exhibit to their community. Through the process of developing this workshop, I found that there are about 6 steps to developing a StoryMapJS. The first is simply to sign in to your Google accounts through the StoryMap page, which we'll show soon in the next slide. The next is to create. The third step is the homepage and display. The fourth is media and text. The fifth is locations. And the 6th step is publish and share. So starting with step 1, which is the easiest step. Simply click Make a Story Map once you have arrived onto the StoryMap website. And you click Make a Story Map and then sign in with Google. After you have signed in, we move to step 2, which is Create. After you've logged in with your Google account, you click New on the tab that pops up. Then make a title and click Create. After you click Create, you should be directed to the first slide of your story map. Then we move to step 3, the homepage and display. This slide is important. This is the home page of your map, and it's the first page that viewers will see. Your entire map will be visible from your home page. Select your display preferences. You can do so by clicking the Options button on the top left corner. The display and sharing tabs should appear. You can choose the size of your story map, its language, font, whether it is treated as cartography or an image, the call to action, and the map type. The map type can also be set to custom or a map box with a URL. The visual style of the map can be changed using the presets or through Mapbox, where you can create your own style. I used a preset version. There are a lot of customizable options, even in the preset versions. Moving to step 4, media and text. Now that you've selected your display preferences, you can add media and text to your home page. You can use an URL of an image you'd like to feature here. But if the URL changes or the media is taken down by its owner, it will disappear. So to avoid that, you can upload an image onto the story map directly if it's the right size. For this workshop, we'll use URLs from Wikimedia Commons. Wikimedia Commons usually includes description and credit information in the media file summary. Information is also available when you click Use this file, which is what is on this slide right now. Now you can add a caption. You can write your own or use the description in the summary, then add your headline and the text for your homepage. You're able to bold and italicize text in the text box, as well as edit HTML and links to the text, and choose the slide background. You can click Save on the top left corner. Step 5, locations. Click the plus Add Slide button. It's on the left-hand side of the page. This is the first discrete location on your map. In general, the process for this slide is the same as the first. The main difference is that you have to add a location and that you can customize your marker options. In some well-charted areas, it is simple to find your desired location by doing a text search for the name or address of the location. For example, The Canadian Museum for Human Rights was easy to locate using the StoryMap search feature. In other cases, more research may be involved for a best estimation of latitude and longitude. A tip: if you're struggling to find a location, sometimes Wikimedia Commons can help. For example, in this slide from the Beijing Conference Center, where the site, which was the site of the 1995 Fourth World Conference on Women, the Wikimedia Commons entry includes the camera location for the site. You can click the camera location and it will take you to the second window in this slide, which is a GeoHack site. You can use the decimal version of the latitude and longitude and add lat in front of the first decimal number and lon on the second. Step number 6. This is the final step. If you would like to see how the slide will appear to viewers, you can click the preview option on your StoryMap page where you're editing it. If you like how it looks, click Save. Now continue adding slides and follow the same process. When you're finished, click Share. If you'd like to see the finished map, you can actually paste the URL into a new browser. All right, thank you, Chris, for screening those videos. So those are the end. That's the end of the videos that we've developed in advance, and we are now turning to a live exercise after a short break. The story map that you saw in the last section of the video was actually drawn from or developed from the exercise that we have created in the Pressbook. So Andrea will share the exercise in the chat so that you all can take a look at it in advance. But we want to give you a few minutes to do a bathroom break, grab a glass of water or a snack, and then get cozy with us for developing your own story map or timeline. We will start with the timeline because that seems to be a little bit more time consuming and perhaps a little bit more complicated because there's a back and forth between the Google Excel sheet and the Night Lab site. We'll take a 4-minute break and then join back together for the exercise.
I think we are back.
Ready when you are, Ming.
Oh, okay. I can just start off straight. So welcome back. So now is the exercise segment. So if you can choose whether you want to do a timeline or a story map. So just for a quick, I will share my screen to just quickly, if people want to follow along as I share my screen, it will be great. Give me a second, my internet is hanging.
Looks like Ming got disconnected, Sarah. So if you want to vamp for a moment, I'm sure she'll be right back.
Oh dear. Thanks. I did not notice. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so I'm just sending again. So the instructions in the Pressbook that Ming developed, they are here. I know Andrea has shared them as well in the chat, but just wanted to put them at the front of the chat there as well. And let me see if it went through here. Oops, I sent it to the wrong person. I sent it to, there we go. Okay, and so the videos that we developed in advance to screen for this workshop will also be available for you to review. They're going to be inside of the Pressbook and also posted on CSiW's YouTube. So you will be able to review the videos as well as the whole workshop at your leisure. We developed an exercise together for this workshop to make it easier for our participants to develop a story map or a timeline. We essentially included, as you can see here, I'll actually share my screen for the let me see. Hello, Ming, you've returned.
Yes, I'm so sorry about that.
No worries. Technical difficulties. I was just going to show the participants the Pressbook exercise. Would you like to do that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay, so I will let Ming take it from here.
Yep. So you can see my screen, right, from here? Okay. So just go to the exercise called Getting Dirt Under Our Fingernails. It's kind of a list of events put together to kind of give some details about women's rights in the international law. In international law, you can see that there are a couple of events here, and also some perhaps milestones where you can select from in making your timeline. There's the date and the location if you want to look, if you want to make a story map. So for a start, maybe I should have a live demonstration for a timeline, and if you would like to follow along, it will be good too. So yeah, so for a start, just kind of click into the timeline Night Labs website, or you can just Google timeline Night Labs. It will be the first one that pops up. Okay, so when everyone is on this page, you can click on make a timeline. So the first step would be make a timeline, and it will bring you down. It will scroll down to this page. And then you can click on get the spreadsheet type template. So this template will require a Google account, and for this workshop, I formed a new kind of email, so it doesn't so it will kind of go to this copy a document and then just make a copy. And you will be able to see this template come up. I will pause for a while if anyone has questions. Okay. So for a start, we can then go back to getting the exercise site on the Pressbook, on our Pressbook. And then maybe as a heading for, maybe choose 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 events that you would like to add into your story, or your timeline. So maybe for a start, my heading for what I will make is, so as you go back to your timeline, a heading that maybe someone can make is women's rights. This is just an example, and you can definitely choose. And then you can provide some explanation to your heading or your headline here. And if you have any questions, you can just unmute your mic or just raise your hand. I will be able to see it. And if you go back to your exercise sheet again, so the first, just use the first one. So international legislation targeting gender and sexual violence. I will copy this as my first slide. And then I will just paste it here. And I will check out for the dates. So the date is on 18 December 1979. And then I will start from here. (1979), so you can see your dates come up here. And if you only have one date, you can just take away the dates in the next end, year, end, month, and end day section. And so this is the description. Of course, for your own project, you can always edit to suit whatever you have. So this will be the text. So for the media part, so this is where we got it from. So this is from Wikimedia Commons, if you're interested. And when you go back to your Excel sheet, you will have, you can just put in your image, and then definitely fill in your credit. So by default, if you do not kind of put in any code, it will be white. I hope everyone is following along, and definitely you can just add more to your timeline.
Sorry, Ming.
Yes.
There are some questions in the chat. Miriam's asking, can you show us how to get the color code from Canva, how to create one? And another question we got is, does the media image have to be a link? What if we have our own photos we'd like to use? Really good question.
Right. So for Nadha, I think if you have your own image, you can upload it to Dropbox. So Dropbox will be compatible. So let me do a quick share of our own the one that we have, like our actual Excel sheet that we used. So you can have your own Dropbox link here. So as you can see over here, it's a Dropbox link. So once you upload to your Dropbox, you can just, just the usual sharing and then make it public. And for Miriam, this is the color generator, palette generator. So you can choose maybe your image. So what we have for our image is give me a quick second. So just for example, so I've just uploaded my, I don't know if you can see it.
We can see it, Ming. It looks great.
Yeah, so I just kind of uploaded an image. I don't know if it's clear, or maybe you can just give an example, like yep. So for example, this is like a sun, an image of a sun. Let's just say this is so much easier. So over here, then it will just come up. The code, the palette will just come up like right on your end. So you can just drag and drop it into your file. And from here, you can, for example, you can just take the color from here. So this is the color code. And you can kind of go back to your Excel page. And then you can just pop it in here. Like this. And when you are done, even for like if you want to showcase a video, Vimeo is a very good third-party site that you can put it onto your media link to. Into December 1993. For the next slide. Okay, so now we just have to, in the interest of time. So then once you have collated a few in or whatever you have, it's important that you actually make your template readable for TimelineJS. So as I mentioned in the video, click on File on the upper left-hand corner of your Excel sheet here. and scroll down and publish to web. So over here, you have to publish to web. Published. So you can either copy from here, or you can go to just copy straight from your web link right here. And you go back to your timeline main page. And go to the third section. So you just paste it in here. And you can preview it, so it will pop up. So the images are not turning up on my site. So this is the color that we chose from the color code. Yeah, sometimes it takes a while for the image to come up. And if it doesn't come up, just make sure to check it. So kind of another trick is that if you do not see your image come up, if you're using like a Windows computer or a Mac computer, you can inspect the web page. And then over here, in this inspect section, there will be the kind of the picture code that you will have here. So all you can do is you can just copy this section of the image and you go back to your timeline and then you just paste it in this way. And if you have any changes, then you can always kind of make sure to refresh it. And kind of go back to your timeline and you should be able to see the image. Yeah, it still takes a while to come. But yeah, so that's all that I have. If you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Ming. Does anyone have any questions before we turn to StoryMap?
I was just following along there and I was blocked. It said that I had an invalid Google URL.
Oh, no.
I don't know if that's a common error that occurs, but it's like a pop-up that occurs right next to the URL box where you copy and paste. And I found that has held me up.
Mm.
And what stage were you at with the timeline development, Patrick?
So I was following along and kind of inputting some, like inputted my own image into the spreadsheet and what have you. And then I just scrolled down to number 3, where you insert Google spreadsheet URL. And when I put it in and clicked preview, it said in a little box next to it, attention, valid Google URL. Please see the note above about how a recent change with Google Spreadsheets affects creating timelines.
Did you published already? Have you clicked on the published tab?
Yep, I followed along. I'm not too worried about figuring it out right now, but I thought I'd throw it out in case somebody else was having the same issue. But I'll have to look back at the video, I think.
Yes, well, I also see too that someone else had a similar issue. So in the chat, someone mentions that that's also something that's happened to them as well. And they copied the URL directly from the browser instead, and that worked. So that might be the best thing to do, and we can maybe update our instructions as well, so that, you know, it's good to know that folks are having these issues, because it helps us to address them in our instructions.
Yeah, I just did that and it worked for me. So yeah, just copy and paste from the top banner and you're good. Yeah, wicked. Thank you so much.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, so we'll turn right now to the story map. Andrea, do you mind resharing the instructions for story map as well from the Pressbook? And I'll also share with you all the story map that I made drawing from the exercise that we developed for the workshop. I'll just send the link over right now. And I will also share my screen to show you. Part of what I wanted to share with you or show you is that there is the homepage that I was talking about. During the video, I mentioned that there's the homepage, which is where all of your map is visible using the StoryMapJS application. So this is the homepage that we're looking at right now. And as you can see, all of the locations are visible, and you can click on those specific locations to explore the locations from the homepage. So that's one of the features is you can actually do that from the homepage, which is really interesting and useful. The other way that you can interact with this application is by clicking the Start Exploring or the arrows on the left and the right side of the page. And that actually takes you through the locations in a way that the designer of the map has intended. So I organized this map based on chronological development, sort of like the timeline. But I followed from one location to another, and I selected a range of international locations to show the range of the map's capacity and how it can go really from one place to another very easily. But there are also uses of the map for, getting much, you can have a hyper local focus as well. There are a lot of really interesting examples that you can take a look at on the StoryMapJS website as well. So let's get started on making the story map. So let's start by going to the StoryMapJS website. And I think that should be, can someone share that in the chat, the story map website here?
Yeah, I'll do that in a second.
Thank you. So while we're getting started, I'll actually show you what, so we just reviewed the story map that I created for drawing from the exercise that we developed. And now you can see what that looks like from the inside. So we'll log in here to the page. So where you are right now, you should be able to click the Make a Story Map and log in through the Google authoring tool. Does anyone have any questions or issues with that so far? Are you able to get into the story map site? Okay. All right. Let me see here. Okay. Great. So we're on the site, on the first page. All of this for you will be completely blank. Okay. So if I go back here, I can show you a new one. So the first step will be making the title for your story map. You can use the title that we have compiled for you if you'd like, or make your own title. I will start by making another one here for you to follow along. So I'm just titling it International Legislation and click Create. All right, so that takes you to your home page, the page that I showed you just a few minutes ago. So as you can see, there's a range of pieces to put together here. So you can draw from the instructions that I've also laid out in the Pressbook, but we will start with the initial. I'll show you how I made the initial homepage for the story map that I just shared with you. So what you can do here as well is make changes to background options, the headline. There's a link feature for the text within the text box. This is where the image will be input, and the credit information, the caption, but also, let me just check here. This is where you will set your display preferences, and you can see there's the size of the map, fonts, language, deciding whether or not this is a cartography or image, the call to action. In the case of our of the story map that I just shared, the call to action is simply start exploring. And you can change that if you'd like as well. There's also a range of settings for you to draw from in making your story map. So this is the watercolor setting that you can see here. If I click the preview button, it's not showing at the moment. That's okay. Excuse me. Okay, so starting with the first slide. The first slide for the home page. Excuse me. Okay, so the options are at the top left corner of the page. So you click the options button, and then they show up for your display. Okay. Any other questions while I am in the process of showing you this? Is everyone good to go?
Sarah, there's a question in the chat. They're asking how you got those options.
Yes, so the options are on the top left corner, and you can make the changes, the preferences using that drop-down menu, or that comes down from the top there, the options tab. So we'll move then to the first the first homepage. So the homepage will have featured this picture from Wikimedia Commons. So I'm just going to see, perhaps you can't see it. Let me just show you. Oh, having some technical difficulties here. Okay. All right. Okay, can everyone see the Wikimedia page that I just shared here? It's the No Justice, No Peace poster.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, great. So what we would like to do here is click use this file. And then you can see the page URL, the file URL. I believe we want to use the file URL. So copy that and then paste it in the top media URL page. You can also see there's an upload an image option as well. You can do that if you prefer when you're making your own story map. You can use your own media if you'd like. This should also include the credit information, so there's the attribution as well. You can take this information and also include it in the credit. And as you can see, the media has already uploaded. Can add a caption, no justice, no peace. And then the headline for your homepage is the title for your map. So thinking about what your preference would be. So looking at this one, for example, I have StoryMapJS workshop example, international legislation organized chronologically. That's the title, or what is called the headline in the story map page. And then as you can see here as well, so this is what the title or the headline is. So StoryMapJS example. And then here, this is where the information for that the text would go as well. So we can just, let me see here. You can see the text. This story map is developed for the October 26, 2021 Night Lab workshop during York University's Open Access Week. You can see that I've included links, which is also an option if you would like. You can do that as well. You can see the link feature here, so you would click or highlight the example, and then you can insert your link and select whether or not you want the window to open on the story map or off of it. in a new browser. So once you've done that, this is your first page. We may be able to see off the, yes, so you can see some of this is loading, but because we have no location set yet, there is not any actual locations in the home page yet. So the next stage is to click add slide, and this will be the first location of your map. Okay, so there's a few different things I've noticed with using this application. The first is that sometimes, depending on where I'm looking, there isn't actual location information that's searchable in the story map search feature. And in some cases, when the location's more remote, what I've had to do is actually go either to Wikimedia Commons or to the Google Maps and locate the latitude and longitude. I offered some instructions with that in the Pressbook. But does anyone need, would that be useful to show you how to do that? To find the latitude and longitude on Google Maps or Wikimedia Commons? Okay, so let's start with, let me see here. Okay, yes. Okay, so let's just take a look here at some of what we've compiled. So let's see. All right, so if you are, for example, going to Google Maps, so one of the locations that I had to use Google Maps for, because the StoryMapJS site did not have the location. It was the location in Gulu called tax. So I used Google Map. It was available, the information was available there. So what I did is I searched on the Google Map, and then when you find the location, right click on the location, and you will see the decimal latitude and longitude of the location. Okay, so you can take that information. When you click on it, it automatically copies it to your clipboard, and then you that's your first location. So I'll show you how that works here so using the decimal latitude and longitude is one of the options that you have here. You can see there's instructions even on the StoryMap search feature. So this is the format that it needs to take. Okay, so you've got lat in the first decimal and lon in the second decimal number. So it would go like this: lat lon. Okay, and then let's see if this will work. Oh, it's not working.
Remove the spaces after the colons.
The spaces. Ah, voila. Thank you, Chris.
No problem.
Okay, so you can see this is the first location using the latitude and longitude decimal option for the story map. So that's one way of finding a location. Another is, you know, like I mentioned in the video, I believe the Canadian Museum for Human Rights, for example, was available here. Oh, maybe not. Oh, I've got a mistake. Okay, so that's not coming up either. Okay, so if we're going to use the actual exercise information, I think the first location is actually the United Nations in New York. So let's just pick one of these here, and that's for the CEDA example. And in that example, we also have a URL for the media, credit, caption. Let me just see here. Any questions right now while we're... All right. Okay, so this is the first location, the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. Oh, that's a good question about uploading videos. We can use Vimeo or YouTube for media on these pages. And that's actually a really brilliant interactive way of using that type of media. In our case, we didn't use any videos for the story map yet, but there could be in the future, as the traveling exhibit that we're following is actually traveling to Kinshasa in November. So we may have more media with that, and we'll actually encourage you all to stay in the loop about the development of our project, because there are some potential new developments that we'd be really happy to share with you all. So as you can see here, the headline has been added. I've also got, let me see, we've got more information to input here. So I have, oh my goodness, it's very bold for some reason, but we'll leave that. And then we have the Wikimedia entry to include as well for the media file. And let's see here. Excuse me. Okay, so for the sake of time, we'll just show you. This is what the preview looks like. I'm not sure why there is this text, but the text can be edited. And then also you have background options. So the really handy Canva color code generator, that information can go here, or you can select a different, you can select your own color if you'd like. You can also use an actual URL for the background, or you can use a background image and upload it from your own files. And then if we go to the very beginning here, you can see how this is going to come together over time. So as you have the, this is the home page, it shows the first location that we've added, and then you can begin exploring by going to that first location. As you add more slides, those are more locations. and the story map will take you from one location to the next. Are there any questions? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen for now as we wrap things up. Okay, so we do have a few minutes if you would like to chat with us about the experience that you've had, or the utility, any drawbacks, any perks to using these methods or these tools. Any comments right now?
Ask in the chat if we can stop the recording to facilitate discussion.
Sure.